Since the Nintendo Switch 2's reveal back in January, I have been thinking long and hard about how I could truly appreciate what the original console had meant to me over its 8-year lifespan. My aim in this video is to try and understand not only why the Nintendo Switch succeeded in the way that it did commercially, but also how it managed to succeed in the hearts of so many people. I still remember picking up my Switch back in 2017, a few months after launch however, because I was 11, and 11-year-olds notoriously don't have immense amounts of money. In fact, I've still got a picture here of my Switch, fresh in its packaging. Oh, the naive joy I must have had having Joy-Cons that didn't try and play the games themselves. And whilst I could definitely go on and name more than a couple issues that I and many others had with the console, shitting on the Switch at this point in its life feels like throwing a punch at someone over the age of 70, which I believe is against the law. And so this video will be reserved mainly for singing praises and making sense of my adoration for the system. My love for the Nintendo Switch is undeniable. In fact, I was in the middle of a seminar at university when Switch 2 pre-orders for most of the UK sites went live. And to answer whether I was successful in grabbing a pre-order, well, let's just say I didn't learn anything in the seminar. And while I am financially gasping for air after purchasing the success of my favourite console, I do not regret committing to the purchase in any shape or form. Across this video, I would like to cover the success of the console, but more importantly highlight some of the memories I have with the Switch that caused me to hold it so fondly in my heart. I will discuss the games that really touched me the most, and why I think these titles may have helped the Switch on its journey to glory, placing itself among the ranks of some of the greatest gaming systems to ever be created, such as the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo DS. It is this unanticipated rise from the very pits of failure to the highest heights of success that I aim to investigate. But if we're really going to make sense of the Nintendo Switch, it feels only right that we address first what came before. So let's get to it. Please enjoy my slightly rushed and possibly non-factual ode to the Nintendo Switch. Please sit back and enjoy. The Wii U launched on the 18th of November 2012, though I can't exactly comment on the excitement and hype surrounding the system before launch due to being a child at the time, and retaining literally no information. I can, however, retroactively confirm that by the end of the Wii U's 5-year cycle, it could only be considered what we know as a commercial flop. Not just commercially, but socially too. Most people you ask that owned one of these would comment on it with disgust and disdain, and the people that didn't own one, well, they'd probably say something similar. Well, I actually did own one of these, and I struggle to understand where the hatred for this thing stems from. The overall game lineup was poor, sure, but there were some gems on this system. I mean, it played Lego City Undercover. What the hell more could you want? The system's overall failure was likely heavily influenced by people's inability to distinguish the Wii U from its predecessor, the Wii. By simply adding a letter to the end of its name, people who weren't in the know mistook the console for an add-on to the original Wii. Regular, non-tech-savvy families who had bandwagoned onto the Wii and the family-oriented games it provided saw absolutely no use in picking up a system that was marketed as a better Wii, when the systems they already owned worked just fine. And so, due to bad naming, poor advertising, and a shocking launch lineup, Nintendo had managed to perfect the recipe for financial disappointment. As a result, the company would have to scramble for a solution, cutting their losses on the Wii U and moving on quite promptly. The Nintendo Switch was initially unveiled on the 20th of October 2016, following the not-so-impressive performance of the Wii U. The console would then go on to launch at the beginning of March the following year. Nintendo were offering a device similar in design to the Wii U gamepad, which following the failure of that system was definitely a risky move, though this time the system was much sleeker and the ability to switch between dedicated handheld and docked modes was almost certain to bring in both fans and the general public alike. On March 3rd of 2017, the Nintendo Switch launched a success that was sure to get Nintendo excited. The system's stellar launch was most definitely propelled by the impressive lineup of games it had during its launch window. Launching in the first few months of the console's life were The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, ARMS, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and 1-2. You know what? Let's ignore that last one. Games like Breath of the Wild were unexpected system sellers. People who had never touched the Zelda franchise before were itching to jump into this genre-defining open world. And games like ARMS and Splatoon offered fresh experiences, ARMS being Nintendo's brand new IP for the first year of the console, Splatoon 2 likely being most people's first entry into that series, given that most people wouldn't have had access to it through the Wii U. Support for the system remained consistent through the first few years of the console, through into 2020. In fact, excluding the day I got my Nintendo Switch, the second best memory I have with the system was my addiction to a certain cozy life sim that managed to drag me through the hell of 2020 like a lifeguard pulling a stupid child from the deep end of a pool. The grip that Tom Nook had on me was incredible. I'd find myself waking up early just to check other people's turnip prices through Reddit subs, or to purchase villagers I wanted through unethical villager trafficking sites. It wasn't just me, Animal Crossing New Horizons had everyone in a chokehold, promoting the series to a front-running Nintendo property and boosting system sales alongside it. Nintendo managed to uphold consistent first-party releases throughout the years following the pandemic, which maintained the rate of sales they had built up until that point. Game releases were also incredibly well received, the likes of Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4 and Super Mario Wonder being some of the most highly acclaimed titles on the console. Not to mention stellar revivals of older games such as Thousand Year Door and Super Mario RPG, which helped please longtime fans of the company looking to quench that nostalgia thirst we all know too well. Personally, the beginning of 2024 was when I began to move away from my Switch. It had up until that point been my only source for gaming, but after picking up a PlayStation 5 during Black Friday in 2023, I found multiplayer with friends much more enjoyable over on that system instead. Pairing that with the library of years worth of single-player experiences I had never touched due to my loyalty to Nintendo, meant the move to PlayStation during that period was a no-brainer. And honestly, I believe this was the right move. I didn't feel like the Switch started to show its age until I went back to it early this year after the reveal of the Switch 2. My time with the original Switch ended on a charming note and wasn't ultimately soured by any aspects, except all the Joy-Cons I lost to stick drift, of course. I also want to note the incredible relationship that matured between the Nintendo Switch and third-party developers during the 2017 period and beyond. The system saw huge third-party titles like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Skyrim, BioShock Collection, Borderlands, Persona 5, Monster Hunter Rise and Sonic Mania, just to name a few. Not even mentioning the plethora of indie developers who had their games rise to stardom on the console. The one I want to highlight here is Hollow Knight by Team Cherry. To this day it remains one of mine, and likely many others, favourite gaming experiences of all time. A beautiful story told through gorgeous vistas and a heartfelt cast of characters. I can still remember me and my friends all playing through at the same time, sharing our experiences over Discord. Team Cherry, I swear to God, please give me Silksong in the near future. I think this memory of mine probably speaks pretty true to many people of why the Switch was so successful within its consumer base. The system gave home to games that otherwise might have gone unnoticed and not found an audience elsewhere, and thus became a champion for the people. It didn't single out smaller teams in exchange for larger releases, but instead created a platform that both could inhabit and thrive in. Starting with Nintendo, there seemed to begin an overall positive trend in the industry, with other AAA studios beginning to both financially and socially support smaller studios more frequently, the way Nintendo had. Alongside the way that the Switch mirrored the impact of the Wii, in that it brought huge amounts of everyday people into the gaming space, the console has, over the last 8 years, truly done a whole lot of good for the industry as a whole, pushing the entire space, and the lesser-known experiences within that space, further into the mainstream. The Switch's overall success with people reflects greatly in its monetary success and sales. In its first fiscal year, the console sold approximately 15 million units, which is 2 million more units than the Wii U managed to scrape together during its entire life. As of the current statistics, at the time of recording, the Nintendo Switch has officially sold over 150 million units, cementing itself as one of the highest selling consoles of all time and establishing its success in video game history forever. And so, as of recording, we are now less than a week away from June the 5th. And quite honestly, I've never been this eager for something since I don't know when. I have tried to explain my lack of patience to people by comparing the wait for this launch to a kid waiting for Christmas. They don't completely understand, but it's the best I can do. The price of the Nintendo Switch 2, definitely a current topic of debate, has not been something I myself have questioned too much, because I know how much joy the purchase will bring me over the span of the next few years. The dynamic game prices Nintendo has introduced, however, should be interrogated thoroughly. Though I am optimistic the Mario Kart world will deliver on most fronts, whether or not it delivers 75 Great British quid worth of content is up for argument. Console launches don't come around extremely often, and with the lineup of games that the Switch 2 is offering as of right now, I'm salivating at the mere thought of having 10.7 inches of Nintendo Switch 2 between my hands. Personally, June the 5th marks the beginning of a new period, one that I'm going to live through with a childish glee, and I sure do hope that you'll join me on this adventure. As of right now, everything I've got pre-ordered for June the 5th includes the Switch 2 system itself, a carrying case to lug it around, the Switch 2 Pro controller, and the 25 quid plastic wheels I pre-ordered, simply with the hope it might evoke a fond memory of fighting for my life using motion controls back in Mario Kart Wii. I swear my bank account is not recovering from the crippling debt this system is slowly pushing me into before it is even released. These really are exciting times, and money comes back, but experiences like the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 is turning out to be, don't. I can only hope that everyone else is as excited about this as I am. Making this video has been a lot of fun. Having the opportunity to sit down and look back at something that has meant a lot to me since 2017 is an amazing privilege. It, however, might be quite apparent that this is my first venture into video creation, and even better, a video I wanted to rush out before the Switch 2 era begins this coming Thursday. And so I ask kindly that you overlook any of the editing mishaps or mistakes littered throughout this video. I really did try. I cannot make any promises about how often I will post on here, but will try my best to keep uploads fairly regular. For more frequent content, be sure to check me out over on TikTok and give my stuff over there a try. If you did enjoy, please let me know down below what you would like to see next from me, however random your ideas might be. I thank you all so kindly for watching. Stay tuned and enjoy!